How's it going, everybody? As you can see right away, there's something missing from my desk, and that in fact is the Artillery Genius. I ended up using the Artillery Genius alongside the Ender 3 V2 for about a month in total. In the last video, I was comparing the two, and both of them were very good printers. I had said that I would choose the Artillery Genius if I could only choose one, and while it's a good printer, I ended up actually returning the Artillery Genius. I ended up preferring the Ender 3 V2 over the Artillery Genius, and I'll show you some prints and I'll tell you why here in a second. So I was using the Artillery Genius pretty much daily. That was what I was using like 100% of the time. I hardly touched the Ender 3v2 while I had the Artillery Genius. I already had the Ender 3v2 all dialed in and everything prior, and I was just working on getting the Artillery Genius running how I wanted it. So every day I would be messing with it, trying to get the settings to work properly. I used Cura. I never had any issues with the Ender 3v2, but for some reason I could not get the print quality on the Artillery Genius. All this stuff over here is from Artillery Genius. This is all Ender 3v2 stuff. I couldn't get the quality to where I wanted it. I thought that I was liking the Artillery Genius more because I was using it more, but in reality it was just because I was using it to tinker with it and try to get the print quality better. So when it came down to it, I decided I don't really need two printers at this time, and with some of that money I saved from returning the Artillery Genius, I bought more filament, and I found out the Ender 3v2 is more than I need at the moment. I really still liked the Artillery Genius. I liked the features, the feel of it. It made you want to print more. It's fun to print with, but the quality compared to my Ender 3v2 just wasn't there. I actually got better prints with the Ender 3v2 than I did with the Artillery Genius after hours and hours of tinkering using other people's configurations and profiles and stuff, and building off of that with the Artillery Genius. I just couldn't get the print quality nice enough to justify keeping that and the Ender 3v2 when the Ender 3v2 did a better job not only with PLA but also with TPU. I printed this phone case out of TPU, clear TPU. This is just a metal plate in there, but I printed this. I got the design on Thingiverse. I'll put a link down to that below. This is for a Pixel 4a, and it did a really good job. As you can see some of the stringing from it going from point to point inside the TPU, but I mean, you're gonna get stringing with TPU most likely no matter what. It's just more apparent on the clear TPU than if it was black. This is PLA. As you can see, it did a really good job printing the PLA, and yeah, I mean, the PLA looks fantastic with the Ender 3v2. And here are some looks at some cats I did. I got these on Thingiverse as well. I started with this, I believe. One of these, I can't remember which ones I started with, but the quality, I just kept getting better and better print quality out of it as I kept messing with it. And I think these two are my better ones. I'll get some close-up pictures and stuff here in a second with a macro lens, and we can look at that. Here's some frogs I printed. All of these are TPU, so they're squishy. And I mean, this is a Bowden setup. People say that the direct drives are better. I wasn't finding that to be the case necessarily for the Artillery Genius. As long as you can make it so that this is printing a lot slower than you normally would. I think I was printing at 18 millimeters per second, but as you can see, these are really good. This, I tried printing without retraction, and I mean, the print quality is okay, and it has a lot of stringing. I turned retraction back on, and this is the result. It's much better. There's like almost no stringing. There's a little bit above the eyes there. It's a whole lot better with retraction on for the Ender 3v2. So that's nice. Here's some more TPU prints. This is a part for my Jeep. It goes over your hinges to protect them from rocks and stuff getting kicked up. But I'll have to get some more close-up stuff, images with these as well. So I printed those on the Ender 3v2, and then I have two of them I printed with the Artillery Genius at the best I could get with it. And once again, the Ender 3v2 was better. And then I also printed these benchies with TPU. Once again, they have stringing, but that's easily fixed with a heat gun or something. But the quality is really nice. On the Artillery Genius, all of these were with Artillery Genius. There was a little less stringing for the most part, but the quality, these are my two best prints, quality just wasn't quite as good. And that's where the filament ran out. So the filament ran out. On the Artillery Genius, it does have a very loud beep on the filament runout sensor. So when it goes off, it's almost as loud as a smoke detector. So it's pretty loud. You definitely won't be missing that. Once it ran out of filament, I put some more back in, and it made that line. So that's not great. I don't know if that's something to do with what I was doing with my settings or something. The bed was perfectly level. I had no problems with adhesion, nothing like that. Yeah, so here's some rings as well. I'll get some close-ups of this as well, but some initials printed. I put some initials inside. I did the same thing with the Ender 3v2, and the initials turned out much cleaner. You can see them a lot better. So, I mean, all in all, it's just been much better prints coming from my Ender 3v2, much more consistent as well. I didn't show this. This was printed on the Artillery Genius. I made a butterfly knife. This is made out of PLA. I did a pretty good job printing this. There are some spots here where the nozzle was hitting. I don't know why. The nozzle would actually like touch it in spots. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, the hot nozzle would hit it and make a little indent in it, and didn't look the best, but it did have a pretty nice print when all is said and done. So PLA, I didn't really have a whole big problem with PLA on the Genius, but once again, Ender 3v2 was just better. So I do have some upgrades I'm going to be doing to the Ender 3v2. I got the Capricorn Bowden tube and some bed springs and the couplers and everything. I don't know if I'm going to put this aluminum extruder on there, but we'll see. I don't think it needs it at the moment. I might save it just till this one kind of wears down a bit. It's still pretty new. It's working just fine. But I have the auto bed leveling BL Touch. I'll be doing that. upgrade as well. It's fairly straightforward with this. There's not a whole lot you have to do. I know the Artillery Genius had the pre-wiring for it. All you had to do was connect the BL Touch right to the hot end. There was a connector built into it, so it would have been a little bit easier on there. But flashing the firmware is a bit more of a hassle with the Artillery Genius. Not a huge hassle, but with the 32-bit board on the Ender 3 V2, you just have to put the firmware onto your micro SD card, pop it in, turn on the printer, and it'll flash that firmware. Then you're pretty much good to go. A little bit of more stuff to do than that, but more or less that's about it. So that's about it for this just quick update about the Ender 3 V2 and Artillery Genius comparison. If there's something that I was doing wrong with the Artillery Genius, let me know down below. But for the most part, I was just getting better prints with the Ender 3 V2, and price wise, they're very similar in price. Ender 3 V2 was doing much better for me personally. There's all these different mods that you can do for the Ender 3 V2 that I found online. This is just for filament. It just kind of keeps it away from the frame more, so it's not pulling a straight line. Has a little tool holder up top too. There's tons and tons and tons of printable mods for the Ender 3 V2. Not quite as much for the Artillery Genius, but you also don't really need as many mods for the Artillery Genius. Once again, I mean, it really comes down to the amount of research that you end up putting into these two printers, but in my personal experience, I ended up preferring the Ender 3 V2 at the end of the day. 1 month in, like I said, a whole month of just using both printers. Had the Ender 3 V2 a bit longer, maybe 2 weeks longer than the Artillery Genius. So I was able to dial it in within a couple days. A couple days of just using other people's profiles and just building off of that. I was able to dial it in, and it's been printing fantastic prints. Good enough for my liking, at least. And the Artillery Genius just wasn't keeping up, so I got rid of it off the desk, made some room for a lot more filament, and we'll be trying out some PETG. I got the clear TPU, excited to use that more. I even have some ABS back there, haven't used that yet. Tons of different kind of filament here, different colors and stuff, but maybe I'll do some videos of me printing with that stuff in the future. Maybe if you want a review on some of these different brands. I got some eSun filament, Pryline. That's what all the black TPU is. It's Pryline. And then we got Overture PETG. It's a transparent red. I want to do a print specifically with that transparent red. And I also got some Sunlu Silk Red as well. I'm kind of testing the 3 different filament brands out and seeing how they work. So let me know if you want a review on those. I'll probably make a video putting on all the upgrades. It's not like a big video, but if anybody wants to see that, let me know. I hope this helped you in your decision, final decision, between the Ender 3 V2 and the Artillery Genius. All right, have a good one.